Are you, your last name is Ribble?
I'm sorry?
Your last name was Ribble?
Ribble.
Ribble,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
It's funny, we all just got quiet all of a sudden. So it should be popping up momentarily.
I'm shy, it's been a while.
One of the things that we've talked about doing is having everybody introduce the person next to them. So you have to get to know each other and then like introduce the person, what they do. And all
You
that
could
stuff.
even do a third-party endorsement.
That's what triggered it for me. You're a third-party endorsement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you gotta have some time to get to know them first.
That's true. Yeah, we did not leave.
Or it's even funner if you don't. You just guess.
Oh.
You look like
Oh
this
yes. This is
Schwindeman over here. Yeah, I've known you the longest.
Everybody
I've
on
known you
the,
longer than this.
How do you guys know each other?
So when I first came out here, I became director of business development, marketing, and sales for Home Staging Works, and he was the operations manager, and so we worked with each other hand in hand. Like,
Okay.
and then we left and stayed in contact.
Yeah, that's cool. You stayed friends with him, really?
I know.
It's debatable. Was that a good move for you?
He uses me to get in like free at McDonald's, you know, big places.
Have you ever got me in free at McDonald's?
I'll get you a cone later. You're looking.
I don't think it costs anything to get into McDonald's.
Yeah, that's right.
That was the point. That was the whole.
I don't think they charge a door fee.
No, but when you have kids, there's no getting into McDonald's for free.
You can't get out for free.
Yeah,
Yeah. That would be the one I'd want.
So it's like I think I paid like $18 yesterday for that.
Oof.
For McDonald's.
Oh, yeah, I don't doubt it.
18 for a combo. Yeah.
Mike brought a bag of hamburgers last week. That was supposed to cost him a small fortune.
Oh my gosh,
You must be rich.
I think he is. I think he is.
I'm just a poor boy from a poor family.
Oh, that's a good one.
I'm just a poor boy. Have you listened to his podcast? He has one with David Spade.
Oh.
What's his name? The blonde one.
Oh, yeah.
Dan Carvey, yeah. Have you heard the podcast? It's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
They tell a lot of very interesting stories about SNL and high
Like
stress
Facebook
environments,
profile picture.
and it's
I think
not
you're
exactly
right.
what you expect it to
I'm not
be.
picturing it right
No.
now, but I feel like when I looked you
It's
up, I was
good,
like,
though. It is really
oh,
funny.
yeah, I guess that is.
It's actually a mural up in Sandpoint that
Oh.
Leg in the back a bit.
Oops.
Oh, glory.
Dallas, do you have a Diet Coke button over there that I don't know about?
I do not.
Okay. This isn't the Oval Office, so.
Yeah.
Scares. No, there's a Diet Coke
we
button.
seem to be live.
We
Trump
are.
has.
Yeah.
He presses it, they bring him a Diet Coke. It's real.
You know, that would be a fun little gag gift for Brad.
Oh, is that right? Because he's a Diet Coke.
Yeah.
person,
Yes.
yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen you drink a soda.
I haven't in years.
Yeah.
Nope.
You can't do backflips.
No.
You know,
Oh,
if
don't
you
bring
drink
that
a
up. My birthday is in.
Yeah, and I'm ready for it.
So I have this tradition on my birthday to do a flip on the trampoline.
Okay.
And I turn 54 in a couple of weeks. And every year it gets a little harder to do that flip.
All right, Mike.
Lights, camera, action. We're back for your satisfaction from Action Business Furniture Studios is where it's happening. We have a special guest star appearance today with Dallas Lowe from Golden Rule Break. I know, isn't that awesome? Be sure to check out his link in the video description. And last but not least, your host, John Byron. Take it away, John.
Thank you, Mike. Welcome, everybody. We got a good room here. I'm super excited. Flight 509 is here. Welcome, guys. Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Gold Rule Break is represented. Legal Minute with Lisa Miller. This is going to be a good show.
Happy to be here.
I'm super excited. Man, this is awesome. Well, it is Friday. It's 3 o'clock, and we are jumping into talking about growing a business and scaling a business. And I don't want to jump too much into that now because we'll get to that. But we like to start with introductions. And I do want to give a shout out to Action Business Furniture. We're sitting in one of their secret back rooms, and they've been very gracious at hosting us. And yeah, very good. Then we're gonna go around the room and everybody just introduce yourself real quick, talk about obviously your name, industry and or business name, a little bit about what that is and how people can interact with you, how they can reach you. And then we really like to talk about what's coming up. So if you have an event that you are hosting, if you are attending an event that you're excited about, or just heard about one and you think it would be worthy of mention it here. It is Mother's Day this Sunday. So either, you know, if you have something, you can mention that. But if you didn't know that it was Mother's Day, everybody sitting at this table has a mom. So be aware. So, Zane,
All right.
kick us off.
Yeah, Zane with Zebra Go. So we're fairly new, but again, we help small business owners make sure their phone calls are getting answered, especially people that are going out and you're doing your job. You're out there and can't answer your call. So we answer the calls for you and get you get the customers on the schedule. So you can just do what you do best and we handle everything else.
Very good.
Beautiful. I'm James Kepner. I'm an entrepreneur, so I have many businesses. My newest business venture is J2K Sales Pros. Basically, I've been in the industry forever, in the music industry, the highest level, and set national records. So I created a business that you do business consulting and sales consulting and customer service experiences for businesses to help grow and maintain the same thing wherever you go.
Awesome.
So
Love it. Welcome.
My name is Eric Woods. I'm a cybersecurity and network operations specialist, and I'm a growing software developer. So,
Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Ribble and from Stand Up Mastery. If you would like to create the best possible conditions for you to build a client base of people who would like to refer you, if you would like to be able to do that and that you're getting a nudge just to be able to learn that kind of thing, that's what we do at Stand Up Mastery. We help you create the best possible connections that are going to be sustainable, that are going to continue to feed you new business and new opportunities. Now, I'd love to talk to you about that. Dave Ribble, Stand Up Mastery.
Hi, and this is Tim and Tammy Homer. We're the owners of Flight 509 Adventure Park and Arcade in Spokane Valley. Today is our 1-year anniversary, so if you'd like to, come on down and we have drawings and giveaways all day long. Flight509.com.
Perfect. Awesome. Welcome, guys. Thank you.
And I'm Maggie. I'm with MediaBus. We are a marketing and advertising agency, full service. So what we do is we tell stories and we help you grow in a way that doesn't take away from your business, but only brings the stuff that you don't like to do. You maybe not do very well, but still is necessary to actually get you the client that you need to keep on growing and investing in yourself and your business.
Awesome.
And who is your number one and most important client?
And our best client, who we love
So much.
immensely, is Dallas Law. Golden Rule Break.
That's right. We've actually used MediaBus for, do you know how many years it's been?
It has been 18 years.
18 years.
Wow.
So I
Okay.
inherited MediaBus from my dad because I've only owned the business for, it's been 12 years. And so I sort of inherited them and I've been trying to get rid of them for 12 years. They just keep succeeding, so I can't do
Bringing the
it.
value.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Anyway,
Fantastic.
I'm Dallas Lowe from Golden Rule and very happy to be here. I really feel like that business owners, entrepreneurs, and people that position themselves in this way, it's a risky venture, okay? And there's certain challenges that other people are not going to understand. And so when we get in a room together where we can sort of talk about these things, I think there's a level of relatability there. So it's a real treat for me to be here today. I do have an event coming up that I wanted to plug, and that is my wife is a musician, singer, songwriter, and recording artist, and we've done years and years and years of music. In fact, on May 30th, we are celebrating 25 years of music and ministry with our children. So my oldest turns 25 this year, and so we've been doing and even before, longer than 25 years, but as far as family's concerned, it's been 25 years. And so on May 30th at Sun City Church at 6:30 in the evening, we're going to do a celebration, about 90 minutes worth of music some older stuff from years gone by. My kids now, all do music. And so they're gonna share songs that they've written and different things. So May
Do we need to
30th.
get reservations? Because it sounds like seating is limited.
It will be, you can go on to the Golden Rule, Facebook page or onto my personal page and you can look at the information on that, so. Yeah, free of charge, so,
Awesome.
yeah, thanks.
Very good. Thank you.
Lisa Miller, I am an arbitrator. My business is Lex Law Corp, right here in Spokane Valley. And I do our legal minute. And one of the topics that we're talking about a lot these days, if you wouldn't mind taking pass, is tariffs. And if anyone would like a constitution, free of charge. So does the president even have the power? So some litigation has already been filed. The state of Oregon and some other states, as well as some business sectors, have filed lawsuits saying that only Congress can lay a tariff, not the president, and so that the president has usurped the power of Congress and disturbed the checks and balances that we all learned about in grade school. So there's something called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, the IEEPA, and under that act, the president is not noted for having the power to enforce tariffs. Rather, it gives the power to the president when there's extraordinary threats to national security or the economy. But Congress has passed numerous tariff statutes through the years and is obviously, not going to be handing off its powers. So the argument is that the president has misused his powers, infringed on Congress's right to control tariffs, and disregarded the Constitution's separation of powers. And this is a core legislative power that Congress says it belongs to it. So there are takeaways for smaller businesses affected by this sort of tariff chaos. And if you want to learn more about it, Spokane Small Business and Entrepreneur Podcast, the entire Legal Minute will be posted there.
That's right.
All right?
Excellent.
Excellent.
Nailed it. Thank you, Lisa.
How many minutes?
I need to start running a timer because I think you actually we're under 60 seconds on
All
that.
right.
That was awesome.
Working on it.
Great,
Well,
Lisa. Thank
handing
you.
off to the,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Joining us.
Late, but not-
Always
I
a
made it,
pleasure.
I made it,
Always a
yeah.
pleasure.
Hi, everyone. Rob Reuter with IDIC Designs. I work with small businesses on right-sizing their technology to meet their financial and technology goals and make sure they're running as effectively as possible.
Awesome. Thank you. Welcome. Mike?
All right. I signed up for a couple open mic nights next month in June. I'm not telling you when, okay, but I need to practice, and I'm a raunchy comedian, so you're gonna have to bear with me. Just
Okay.
like when I used to be in the Marines, I used to tell all of my Marines, imagine how much fun we would have if we were all gay. And that's why next week we're all gonna be coming in drag. Get ready to eat your heart out, ladies, because in a red dress and heels, I got an ass that don't stop. You can bounce a dime off of that thing, and 1 ounce gold coin is coming back and hitting you in the face. That is my ROA. That's my business metric, if you will. Speaking of business metrics, I need to let you know that cars are worth 5 times more parted than whole. That's why this episode is brought to you by Charlie's Chop Shop. Charlie's Chop Shop, cash for clunkers, no titles, no questions. Give them a call. They'll give you a pin drop. Charlie's Chop Shop, they probably got your car parts. And if you go to goldenrulebreak.com today and type in Charlie's Chop Shop in the promo code, you are going to save 25% on your next service. Till next time.
So always we follow Mike with the disclaimer that
All that he said is untrue.
none of that is true. No. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. I'm Jonathan Byron. I'm the host, and I do sell real estate, and I love helping people buy their first house. And I actually just went yesterday to Habitat for Humanity's yearly luncheon, and what they are doing to help people get into homeownership is amazing. I'm not going to go deep dive into it, but if you know somebody, particularly that is struggling to get back on their feet, I'd love to talk to them because there's a lot of programs out there. I'm working with a buyer right now. They're basically not going to pay anything down. Like it can be cheaper to get into a home ownership than it is to get into your next apartment. So lots of opportunities for people buying houses. Love to talk to you about that. But that's not why we're here. We are here to talk about scaling and growing your business. And Dallas, I did a little bit of snooping, and you're not like too shabby at this. Like you've kind of like set a pace that people are kind of scratching their head. Like, how'd you do that?
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. I really like talking business. It's a lot of fun. And I want to prep, I'm gonna share a little bit of our background as a business, as well as like where I came from, just by way of some background. But I want to prep for those of you in the room a question that I want to present to you that we can have a little bit of dialogue on. It struck me a while back that our companies are like plants. Okay, and plants need a certain environment to grow in, and plants need light, they need water, they need nutrients, they need space to grow. And so I'd like us in a little bit to talk a little bit about in our businesses, what are those things? What are the spaces to grow? What are the nutrients required in our businesses in order to grow? Sometimes I feel like the growth thing is really elusive, because I think we all want to grow, we all want to do better, we all want to make more money, we all want to do those things. How do you go about doing that? And I think a lot of it has to do with, do we have a healthy environment? Okay, just like a plant. If a plant is in a healthy environment, it can't help but grow. Okay, so I really think that's a key to growth, is that our environments are healthy. So I'd like to hear from you guys in a little bit what you think in your businesses. What is a healthy environment? What are the elements of a healthy environment? So, all right, so a golden rule break. We've been in business for 71 years. I did not start it. I look fantastic for 92. Yeah. So my grandpa and his brother started the business in 1954.
What made them pick that though? I mean, I could have done any number of things, I'm sure.
I think it's what they knew. I think it's what they knew, which is actually ironic, because in the environment that we currently live in, with AI coming up, there are certain businesses, technology businesses, different things that could be really threatened by AI. And for us, because of the nature of the work that we do, we are not, at least in the next 10 years or something, we are not going to be threatened by this technological advance. Now, of course, my grandpa and his brother who started the business, they weren't thinking that. They weren't thinking, oh, we're going to future-proof this and we're going to fix cars and whatever. They have no idea. I think it was just something that they knew.
And yet they did it so well.
And they did. So
meant to be.
In 1954, they started. And in 1980, my dad bought the business. And in 1980, the business was not doing very well. I mean, it really all the way through from the beginning all the way through into, maybe my dad didn't really start really making any money or like really like, turning the corner on things until maybe his last 7 or 8 years. So in 1980, my dad bought the business and he couldn't even earn a full-time living from it. He was laying carpet, and he kept laying carpet for 6 months after buying the business. And the purchase of the business for him was really a desperation move, because he wasn't educated. He didn't have a high school diploma, and his knees were starting to give out from laying carpet. And here was this business, and so he approached his uncle, because his dad, my grandpa, had gotten out of it at that point. So he approached his uncle and said, what do you think? And he bought the business in 1980. And then in 1995, so it's actually 30 years, we're celebrating 30 years of our Francis Avenue location being open. So in 1995, our Francis Avenue location opened, and then a few years after that, our Pines Road location opened. And so growing up, my growing up was a real lower middle class existence. It was not something that brought in a lot of money, and that was like my experience of the business growing up. I graduated high school, went to Freeman High School, Freeman Scotty, from kindergarten all the way through graduation. And then when I was 20, I moved to Denver and I spent 13 years living in Colorado. Got a business degree from the University of Colorado, and met my wife. My wife and I will be married 28 years here in a couple of months. 28 years, my word, how in the world does that happen? I have no idea how that happens. So we got married, and my wife is a songwriter and recording artist, and we did music, Christian nonprofit sort of Christian music ministry for a bunch of years. We at one point we sold everything that we had and we went on the road. Okay, at that we've got 4 kids now, but at the time we had 3 kids, and so the 5 of us piled in an old beat up old bus and traveled the country, all over the country for 4 years, and we did concerts and other music in churches and different things. But my primary role during those years was to coach churches in how to do outreach. We live in a society right now that for most people, church is pretty irrelevant, okay? Pretty irrelevant to their normal life. So how do you, as a church person, how do you communicate to the community that faith is of value? And so this was a big part of what we did on the road. We would work with churches around the country to just sort of get the wheels spinning a little bit, to say, you know what, you have an opportunity to reach into the hurting people of your community. So churches would bring me in to coach them on that. It was 4 years, about 4 years in, I got a call from my dad, and it was time for him to retire. And so he called me and asked if I was interested in the business, and I've never been interested in the business. And now, don't tell anybody. And I know, I'm sure that like not very many people watch this. Right? I'm not a mechanic. I don't know anything about cars. I'm not a car guy. I don't even like cars. Okay? It's never been on my radar, and the ability to fix things that are broken, that skips this generation. I'm just telling you. And I've always not.
So that means your kids have it.
And not entirely. There is a story about that. Maybe I'll tell it a little bit. But I always felt a call on my life to serve God in like full-time ministry and serving other people. And so the business was never of interest to me because I felt like I had a different calling and a different purpose. Well, my dad calls out of the blue and he runs this idea past me, and my wife and I, we prayed about it. And 3 months later, we were back in Spokane. And I spent a year working for my dad just to learn how to run this company. Who are the employees? What's a brake caliper? I didn't know. You should have seen me. I had a makeshift office in my garage. Okay. And I went onto Wikipedia and I typed in braking systems, and I printed off these sheets of like, this is what a braking system, this is how brakes work. I had no idea. Right. And so I spent a year working for my dad, and then that next year we signed the papers on the purchase of the business, and this July will be 12 years that I've owned the business. In fact, I pay my dad off this July.
Wow.
In about 2 months, he is paid for, free and clear. So we're gonna have a party.
Nice.
So, can I get some water?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
So where was your original location?
The original location was in and near Appleway. But then there was a location on 3rd Avenue for a few years. But in 1961, we moved to the Monroe Street location where we currently have a location. So yeah.
Is that good, or do you want still water?
No, this is fine.
Okay.
This is fine. Yeah, that's a good question. And in fact, we're looking at moving out of that space. It's too small. So when I bought the company, we had 3 shops, 3 bays only at each shop. And what I discovered, pretty early on is that the demand was strong enough that, like, we got a real problem if we are booked a week out, okay? God forbid 2 weeks out. And so, this was the sort of situation we were facing. And so we ended up expanding at the locations that we were currently at. And so our Francis Avenue location has 10 or 11 lifts right now. We started with 3, but we were in this sort of this strip mall-y type place, and we just kept taking over the lease of the people next to us. And then our Pines Road location, we have 7 lifts there. Our Post Falls location has 9. We'll have 9 soon. But our Monroe Street location, we have 3 in with 1 out, and we can't grow there. It's just too small. So it's going to be very sad for me to move out of there, because it's been since 1961.
Well, maybe administrative offices or something.
Maybe. So, and we are, and this isn't public knowledge quite yet. It's been leaking out a little, but we bought property in Coeur d'Alene, and we're going to open a Coeur d'Alene location probably a year from now.
Awesome.
And that will have 12 lifts.
Great.
There. So yeah, this is why I think this idea of growth is much on my mind, because we've spent the last 12 years growing a lot. In fact, I was really surprised when I first started talking to my dad about the business. Like I said, his last maybe 7-8 years is when, business picked up more. He started getting things paid off, and he started making some money and whatnot. And so from his perspective, he said, Dallas, you'd be shocked. He's like, you'd be shocked at how much money that we're making and how well the shops are doing, how busy we are. And I seriously thought that, man, I wonder if we're gonna have to open a 4th location like my first year or something. Because he was like, I think you'll be very surprised. And I saw the numbers, and I'm like, wow, this is really amazing, whatever. And I'm so glad we did not open a location in the first year or 2. For a couple reasons. One, the expense associated with opening a location is enormous. It's millions and millions of dollars, right? But we could expand where we were at for very cheap. Our first move on expansion was to throw lifts outside. Okay, there are concrete pads out there. We put a lift out there, and the first time we did that, it paid for itself in the first week. And it was one of those things. It was an absolute no-brainer. We increased our capacity by 1/3 in like flipping a switch, and the cost was very, very low. The return was very, very high. And then over the years, we just started expanding with other building projects or whatever in the locations that we currently had. And I'm telling you, had I not, so every time I open a location, part of me thinks, okay, we only need 7 lifts. Okay, well, no, that's not gonna be enough. We need 12, right? So there actually was a piece of property that I looked at maybe 5 or 6 years ago, up sort of north, like Newport Highway-ish. And it would have been 5 lifts. And at that point, that was about what we had. And I thought, well, this would be good. And maybe we could put one outside too and do that, play that game. And the thing fell through, and I was really disappointed that it fell through. But I'm so glad that it fell through now, because I would have underbuilt. I would have had a problem. I would have invested all that money in that location, and within 2 years, I would have regretted it, because then what do you do? Do you open another location, and then you got more locations, but there's an inefficiency that occurs when you're far better off to have one location that has 12 lifts than have 2 locations that have 6 lifts, right? Depending on the location and the strategy associated with that. But I know for a fact, had I purchased that property and gone that and made that move that early, it would have been a mistake. And I'm really glad I didn't do that. So what's happened to us over the last 12 years is that we are at a place right now where we are maxing out. There's only so many, so much space, so many lists. I can't expand anymore at our current locations, and so now it really is. We're gonna continue to nurture the clientele at our current locations, and then we're just gonna expand. So it's been about 1.5 years now that we opened our Post Falls location, and I'm telling you, that thing hit the ground from day one. Yeah.
Ask you a question, Dallas.
Please.
How easy or hard is it these days for you to find skilled labor.
What do you think the answer is? Is this a rhetorical question?
I don't know. But I mean, is that
Yeah,
been
it's very hard.
major obstacle?
It's very hard. My dad told me as I was coming into the business, I said, what's the hardest thing about running a business? And immediately, it was employees. Finding them, keeping them, employees, definitely the hardest part of running the business.
So you're on the hunt all the time?
Yeah, basically, yeah. Either we're looking because we're expanding, or we're looking because we got to let somebody go. I honestly don't remember the last time somebody left us.
So is there a place where young people coming out of whatever they're doing, trade
Yeah,
school?
there are programs, you know, automotive programs at the community college and whatever. It's been my experience that that's really hit and miss. I would much rather have somebody with experience.
Do you have training programs yourself?
It's a loose program where we get people acclimated, but I'm not starting from scratch for anybody. It's too much effort. The liability's too high. And I want our customers to know that we've got qualified people that are working on their vehicles. And so we're pretty cautious about, you know, taking somebody that's too green. I find the best way for us to find employees is referrals of current employees, for sure, because it really weeds out the bad ones.
Yeah.
Right? And those guys don't want to put their name, they don't want to attach their name to somebody that's no good. And they don't want to work with somebody that's no good. And so it's hard to get, like, every so often I'll be like, do you know anybody? I'll go to my guy, do you know anybody? And so it doesn't create a flood of good applicants, but the applicants that it does bring are really good.
Well, when you're considering adding another lift, there's a labor kind of situation involved with how are you going to support that lift?
Yeah, it kind of depends on what and I don't know what the official ratio is, but other than it's a pretty sweet spot to have one technician having two lifts. So you got one guy working two lifts. That way, like when parts are being ordered for the one, he's tearing apart the other one, right? So he's not standing around. So there are those things where it's like if you add a lift, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to add an employee. We're really, really efficient at what we do. We're very fast, and the guys, I pay my guys well, and they're honest, they're really decent people, and I hear these stories every week. People will go on to Google and leave a review and whatever, and they'll in fact, I just 2 days ago, somebody went on, had an experience at our Post Falls location where this woman, her husband, I think, was in the hospital, or she was in the hospital. One of my guys went to the hospital and picked up their vehicle and brought it so that we could get the job done for them. They were going out of town a few days later and whatever, and she shared this story on a Google review. And I was like, I took a picture of it and I texted it to my managers and my assistant managers, and I'm like, I'm so proud of you guys. Thank you so much for that. And because I can't, at 4 locations, soon to be 5, I can't be everywhere. I just can't be. And so knowing that I've got people that are filled with integrity, and here's what I found is that most people want to be honest. This has been my experience, is most people want to be honest. A lot of my guys over the years working for other companies have worked for companies that will pressure them into finding stuff that's not there, or like, listen, we need a sale on this one, you better find something. And they don't like that. They don't like that.
Is it only brakes? Are you doing other things?
Brake and suspension alignments, so all that, like tie rods and all the steering type stuff. So anyway, so we've grown a ton over the last 12 years, and my dad is still around. My dad actually turns 80 in a couple of months, and I love talking to him about the business because there's nobody like him that can relate to the challenges of it. And of course, he's very proud of me and all that. My grandmother, who passed away in 2020. Okay, at every family, she was 94 years old, something like that. Every family function, she'd grab my hand and she'd say, I'm so glad you're in the business. So glad you're in the business. And my grandpa has been gone for 30 years. And so he didn't get a chance to see me come into the business, but my grandma did. My grandma did, and she was very blessed by that. And now my son is in the business. His name is Jeremiah, and he's almost 22, and he's been working for me for almost 3 years. And he's amazing. I just can't say enough about him. We are a very good pairing because as the company's gotten bigger and different things, I've become less interested in the numbers and getting in the weeds on stuff. I love doing stuff like this. I love marketing and advertising and growing and all that stuff, but getting into the weeds on the numbers, I just don't care for it anymore. He loves that stuff. I'm so glad that he loves that stuff, so.
You're well known for the slogans and the funny statements on the sign. Talk about that.
Yeah, so that predates me for sure. We've been probably doing that for 30 years, something like that. And it's not easy coming up. We have 2 new messages every week. It never ends. And so I will keep my ears open anywhere. Like if somebody here says something wise or funny, I probably pick up my phone and I'll type it in. So
pressure's on now.
Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna say something good. Counting on you. But yeah, I love doing those signs because it's and frankly, it's one of the greatest marketing things that we've ever done. In fact, we've had customers say that they came to us because of the signs. So I'm like, what in the world? Does this sign have anything to do with the quality of work that we do or our integrity? It means nothing. Nothing. There is no correlation there. But here's what I have found is that I think we are people where we want to reciprocate. There's a natural thing in us, okay, that when somebody gives something to us, we want to give them something in return. It's very hard to just receive from people and not give something in return. And so it's been years, every single week, we give this community something, right? So I think there is this, compulsion to be like, oh, I like those. I have a good feeling about them. And they've received something, so they want to give something. And what they give is their business. So yeah, we hear that a lot. Sometimes I get into trouble with things I put up. I'm trying to be funny and then somebody gets offended and whatever. But yeah, we've had all sorts of mostly positive feedback.
Well, thousands of people are seeing it every day when they drive by.
Well, and because there's a new message up every week, I mean, if you're driving by Golden Rule, you're looking.
Yep.
You're looking, right?
Or looking at Facebook, since you
That's right, we
cross-post
do
them there.
both.
I'm always
Yeah.
watching to see what are they doing
Yeah.
this week.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do want to transition into this question that I have, but does anybody have any questions or comments on anything so far?
So your story there about going and picking up the car at the hospital, Tim and I were just at a seminar last week, and there was a speaker what was the name of the restaurant that he owned in New York City? It turned out to be one of the top restaurants in the world, but he wrote a book called Unreasonable Hospitality, and it was it's a really good book if anyone wants to read it, but it was exactly that. That's the kind of unreasonable hospitality you have to provide in today's business environment. Just being good isn't good enough. You have to provide unreasonable hospitality, which is exactly what you guys did there.
Yeah, and I think that keeps us healthy. I think that it makes us better when we have to go to extra lengths, right? It reminds me a little bit of Google reviews, okay? This is it's a love-hate relationship that you have with Google reviews. For me, it's mostly love. And what I mean by that is that when we get a bad review, I dig into these every single time, okay? I respond to every review. You can look at our Google reviews, every single one, positive, negative. I will personally comment on every one. And of course, the negative ones are by far the most valuable, okay? They are by far the most valuable. Now, sometimes we get a negative review and we've screwed up.
But sometimes it's not even you. It could be some other provider.
That does happen sometimes. Like a lot of times what will happen is we won't be able to find on a negative review, we can't find the customer name. We can't, and sometimes, their Google name is some weird thing, and of course we can't, but other times, so I don't know sometimes the bad ones. I mean, we've had people,
But shouldn't it correlate to an experience in the shop physically? Even without a name, right? Shouldn't you be able to just sort of talk to the manager of the store? and
Yeah, we
say,
do that, and sometimes
"What's
it
their
doesn't ring a
problem
bell.
with the tie rod, you know?
Sometimes it doesn't ring a bell. Sometimes it was 6 months ago they came in and then they heard the commercial, they saw something and they're like, I hate that company and I'm gonna go on. And so it's hard to track that down. But the positive thing about the negative reviews, and I really encourage everybody, you've got to really respond to negative reviews, because what it means is that all of my employees know that if we get a negative review, we are going to chase that thing down to the core of whether it's legit or it's not legit. And so if I have an employee, whether it's a manager or a tech or whoever, if I have an employee that is doing something wrong, eventually I will hear about it, and usually through a review. And I've even had so the biggest complaint that we have basically is, you said that something needed to be fixed, and I went someplace else and they said it was fine. You guys are crooks. And they will also, sometimes they'll throw the golden rule at me, like, you call yourself a Christian, this is not the golden rule, da da da. They make these accusations. And because it's so important to me to make sure that we are doing things right, there have been a number of times where I've reached out to the customer and I said, listen, can you bring the car back so we can show you why? So this is a win-win for me. So it's a win if they bring the car back and we show them why, then we just restored our integrity, right? If we bring the car back and there's nothing wrong with it, well, that's also a win for me, because then I get to identify what problem that we have in the shop.
But if there is a problem, there's also an opportunity for you to get a lifelong customer, a loyal customer out of that.
For sure. I mean, there have even been times where there were a couple of people I paid them. I said, listen, I'll pay you $100 to come back and let us look at it so we can show you. Because again, either when our integrity's on the line, either we will be proven right, and that's good, that's worth $100, okay? Or I will be able to root out a problem that is worth way more than $100, right? So anyway, those Google reviews, I just can't stress to you enough. And I really feel like the key to business success and growth, it's very multifaceted. So don't get the wrong idea that you can sort of meld it down into a platitude or something. But really what I have found is that you need to hire the right people, hire good people, and hold them to a high standard. If you do those two things, and those are hard, those are not easy to do, especially in the environment of hiring the right people, because you're like, oh, I have to compromise because it's hard to find good people. So then you start making excuses, right? Oh, well, he's not that bad. Or all that business, it's really hard to resist that, because you might go out and hire somebody else and that guy's worse than the guy that you just got rid of that wasn't that bad. And so when I say, when I boil it down to those two things, it doesn't mean that it's easy. But what I find is that business is multifaceted and complex. And whenever we can sort of take all that big monster and we can bring it down into something simple, it helps set my gaze toward what is right. Hire good people, good, honest people, and hold yourself and hold those people to a high standard. And I think that you'll have success. So can we talk about these things so like I said earlier, I think our businesses are like plants, right? So plants need a certain something to grow. They need light and they need water and nutrients and space and whatever. And so when we think about how do we grow our businesses, I'm curious for you here in the room, what are those things for you that create a good, healthy environment? Because that's what we're talking about. Like, if our companies are healthy environments, then they naturally will grow. What do you guys think? What is an element of your business that you find to be a healthy environment?
And I want to throw an added caveat on that. When you introduce yourself on this round, how long have you been in business? Because I know you guys talked about you're celebrating your 1 year, so just kind of like a gauge of how long have you been doing this and what has been your observation?
Well, I'd like to start with the 1 year. You know, that's a great place to start.
So, well, I think, you know, we provide a service and people are coming in to have a good time. So customer service for us is the most important thing that we can offer. You know, I always tell our employees, if people are coming here to have a good time, they're in a great mood, they're ready to have a good time, there's no reason that we can't send them out the door with a smile on their face and a referral for that person. And as Dal said, you know, hiring the right people is, man, it's difficult. And, you know, we have mostly kids, you know, they're
Sure.
high school kids, maybe college, a lot of them their first jobs, a lot of mentoring and training, but we have found a lot of great kids out there. But it's tough. It is by far the tough. We have about 80, 85 people, you know, they're a lot of part-time people, so it's not full-time people. So it's a continuous turnover. And the thing that also strikes me, and this has been in several businesses that we've owned, is holding people accountable. And I've been told many times, if you know that person shouldn't be there, then they shouldn't be there. But it's awful hard to whether it's, you know, it's just hard to terminate them.
Yeah.
But following up and holding them accountable, and if you know they shouldn't be there, then you probably should get rid of them, but that's an awful hard step to take.
So I'm curious about businesses that have a lot of employees, a lot of part-time employees. Every time you hire an employee, it's expensive, it's one more body to have complications occur with. Is there any way for you to do more full-time employees? So you have lower your number, right? Because with numbers, it comes complication. Can you do more full-time employees?
We really can't because of our hours are 4 to 8, and we do have some full-time employees. We probably have 15 to 20 people that, you know, get 40 hours a week between management and then just staff. But, you know, again, when you have minor employees in Washington, it's very, very restrictive and difficult. That's one challenge that we have. But yeah, we would like to have more full-time employees, but it's difficult to, you know, just given the nature of the business that it's going to be mostly kids that you hire. It's very, you know, we offer, like we try to promote within and get to the floor manager, the shift leader, assistant manager that are more career jobs, but you know, you're paying just over minimum wage, and it's not something that you can have like 15 full-time employees and they're just going to stay as game attendants. You're kind of training them, and then they move on to college. And go on. But like I said, we found a lot of great kids.
But that's not by accident. We've spent a lot of time, energy, money, investing in finding the right people for our company. We do auditions. Like Tim said, we're selling a good time, and our employees are ambassadors of that entertainment. And so we don't just bring somebody in and say, hey, you know, tell me about yourself, and we have them come in and they play and they do games together. It's like game night for an interview for us, so that we can see them in the environment that we are going to be expecting them to work in. We have a very eclectic group of employees, and that's intentional, because everybody's bringing something special and different to the team and the environment. We do pay over minimum wage. We invest in our employees. We make sure that we stock the break room and that we're, bringing in games and ways to make it a fun environment for them to work in, because our employees are, like Tim said, they're everything. If we don't have a good staff of employees, then we don't have a business.
I can attest to that too, because I've only gone a handful of times, but again, whenever I've taken my family to Flight 501, you guys have been great and your staff has been amazing. And that I've been in several different industries, one where I had to do a lot of turnover. And that accountability piece is huge. I was in trucking, I was there for years, and I can't tell you how many people I had to let go. But I think to go along with that accountability, and like you said, investing in those employees. So like right now with Zebra Go, we've been working on our process and our system, and we've had our employees for about 1.5 years now. But selling to the public has been about 8 months. But for my staff, I have a high standard for them. I'm holding them accountable to that. But they also need to know that I'm supporting them in that. I'm not only setting the standard up here, but the level of support they get is above that accountability level, so that they know that when I ask them to do something, I'm not just throwing out a ridiculous metric or something that is unattainable. It's something that they can achieve and that they know that I'm behind them 100%.
I think that even speaks to what you were talking about, the different shops that would put pressure on, like, you have to get this many sales. I was talking to somebody recently, I saw a documentary about the meat markets, and how like there was it was a huge undercover investigation, but there's just this tendency when there's pressure put without that, like, here's how you're gonna get there. So I think that's really good. I like that.
When a business stops believing that they're there to provide something for the people that they're bringing in, is when something can truly lose its way. So you've held on to that with the golden rule, like it's built into the name, but just beyond like the semi-religious aspect to it, whatever, it's still just beyond like you're just treating other people how you want to be treated. So if you're treating the kids that are coming in that want to play, then they see the employees working here and they're happy and they're treated well. Like it just kind of creates this feedback loop of this is a place that we're going to continue to grow. And when a business loses that, like you said, with the pressure from the top down, where it just becomes take advantage of the people coming in, hurting the employees working for you, it all just drains the life from whatever business it is, as far as I can tell.
Well, I guess I can provide kind of an interesting perspective because Dallas is kind of the client of the business I work for. And I'm not gonna give you the secret sauce because that's Dallas's, and that's something that we really insist upon. Every client that we work with, they have a secret ingredient, and we really keep that for them. But what I can tell you about him as a client and why we believe he's so successful is because first of all, he trusts us to do our job. He knows that we are his marketing team, so he lets us play a little bit with all the newest developments. And that's something that's so incredible for us as creative people and as marketing people. It's like, okay, try this. And when it works, we keep on growing in that. When it doesn't work, we just go to the next thing. And that's always so incredible for us because we can try something that we believe will work. And honestly, about 90% of the time it works. And then another really good thing is that he actually utilizes the money that he invests into his marketing. What a lot of people that I've noticed, especially with newer businesses, Dal said marketing and advertising is fun. So a lot of people like being really invested in that and very involved in it. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work for everyone. So trusting us to do our job is really important because we've had many people who are usually past clients now. We would talk with them and we would give them advice and they would be okay. And then the next time they would forget about it and then just something that doesn't work. And they would invest a lot of money into stuff that just doesn't work. And they would get in love with an idea of something that doesn't work. And then when eventually they stop getting the clients they want or the results they want, they're like, well, marketing just doesn't work. It does work, but you need to trust your people and also kind of push them to further develop, not just stay in one position, but actually bring the newest technology, the AI that's now developing, social media, everything that's out there. Figure out a way not to only make it work, but make it work for your business. And that's something that many don't understand. And that's pretty amazing. Like, not every business needs social media that's super out there. Because let's be honest, people don't always care for every single business out there. People want to be entertained. And something that Dallas has understood, especially with the science, we love the science. They are entertaining. And guess what? Dallas' social media, it works.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because who cares about a brake shop? Who cares about an auto repair place? And this is, I'm not a microbrewery, right? I'm not a cool restaurant or whatever. But I'm a big believer that it doesn't matter what you're selling. You have, through marketing, you have the ability to create something out of nothing. You can do that. You could be selling toilet paper, and Charmin did it with the commercials and it doesn't matter what you're selling. Your ability to grow your business is in your own control, your business, your image, your marketing thing, whatever it is, you have control over that. And part of the reason why I'm I'm pretty free with your guys's ideas. A couple reasons, because you've faithfully succeeded over the years. But secondly, because we have done our part of consistent growth over time, I have money to try some things,
Sure.
right? It's real hard if you're just getting started and whatever, because it has to work. Like you can't spend money experimenting, right? And so that's why business success is so multifaceted. There is not one holy grail. There is not one thing that is going to be the answer to all of your problems. You've got to do all of the things well.
So what would you say was the best for your growth? Is it referrals, radio? What do you attribute your growth to primarily?
So things are changing, I think, some, because we're known for our radio commercials, okay? People aren't listening to the radio as much as they used to. However, we benefit from radio still quite a bit, because if you're gonna listen to the radio, probably you're gonna listen to it in your car, right? We want people in their cars when they hear the spots, because they're gonna hear the spot, they're getting in their car, they're gonna hear their brakes squeak, and there's just a really good tie for us there. But, you know, I've seen that my son and all of my kids, they're like, Dad, the radio? I mean, you should have seen it. My 18-year-old, she turned the radio on in her car for the first time in her life, and she heard a Golden Rule spot. She couldn't believe it. She videoed it as the spot was. I hope she had parked. I hope she had parked when she did this. But then she texted it to me. She's like, I turned my radio on for the first time in my car, and I heard one of the spots. We don't want to stop something that's still working, right? So what I told Brad and the team at Media Bus like 5 years ago, I said, listen, I don't want to spend any more in radio, okay? But I'm not going to take away from it either, because it still is working. So as we've continued to grow, and as you grow, then you can add to your marketing budget. Everything that we've added has been digital. It's been the social media posts, advertising, and Google ads, and all that stuff. So it feeds on itself. Success gives you opportunities to try some things, and some things fail, right? And one of the things that is really important to me in business growth is that I have really tried to minimize the big leaps. Okay, I don't like big leaps. They're scary. And I don't need the stress, okay? I have thought that if I'm about to do something, and I thought about this with our Post Falls location, when we opened our Post Falls location, I'm like, what would happen if it completely failed, okay? And if it completely failed, we'd be fine, because we have 3 other locations that could carry it. I mean, it could carry that 4th location for a decade, you know? And so that's why I don't like big leaps. And so whenever I make a business decision, it's like, I'm not putting all my eggs in that basket. It's not worth it. It is not worth the risk. It's consistently performing right and well over a period of time. Then all of a sudden you find yourself in this spot where it's like, man, I never knew we'd be this successful. That's what my dad said. He's like, he said, son, I never thought. I didn't have the vision. I didn't know that it could be this thing. And I'm so proud of my dad. I'm proud of my grandpa, and of the generations, I probably got it the easiest, because it's real hard to start something, right? It's real hard to go from 1 location to 2. That's no joke, right? To go from 3 locations to 4 locations, way easier to build on a good, strong foundation. And then my son, we're already talking about succession planning for my kid, because it's going to take a plan. And I probably got another 15 years in me, probably 10 to 15 years in me. And hopefully by the time I'm done, we will have saturated this market, and you're gonna be choking on Golden Rule breaks in this area. But so his generation, his big challenge is gonna be, if he wants to grow, he's gonna have to go outside of this area. And that's gonna be a unique challenge. So of the generations, I think I've got it probably the easiest. Are we a hard stop at 4 o'clock?
We are, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also,
We're getting close, yeah.
So I've been in, I've worked in Hollywood in the music industry. I'm from California where everybody loves to hate.
Yeah,
And
what are you doing here?
my dad started a church here in '81 called Calvary Spokane. So he was the founding pastor. So my sister was born here. I have some Spokane in me, even though I was born in Orange County. But I started consulting in the music industry by 19 years old because I was working in Hollywood. And then my dad told me he owned a lot of record labels after that. And he's like, James, you know, you gotta do whatever you can because some things don't work out. And at the same time, I learned sales. And then I started consulting about sales. I started working at Zillow, major corporation, setting national records at and luxury property management. I did $500 million properties and opened them and sold them out. And then I started figuring out what works and what doesn't work. What I love about Dallas, I'm a friend of Dallas's, I'm an admirer of Dallas's as well, is Dallas, outside of everything, cares about his employees more than anything. You can bank at the end of the day, even if he thinks something's right or wrong, he'll err with his doing what's right. And I feel like what makes Golden Rule Breaks great in great places like In-N-Out, Disneyland, is you'll go to a place, it's consistent. It's the same thing. You look for consistency. Those are the best businesses you'll ever do. So what I do is I believe that customer service is sales. I sell you without you ever thinking you've been sold because all I have to do is give you facts like he does. This is what needs to be done. And then you do it and you have success. And so that's kind of what my business is built on, is going in and helping sales teams, customer service, people being the same everywhere they go, wherever business it is. And if you have Dallas, a rock star on the radio, and you go into Golden Rule Break, you're expecting a good atmosphere and to match that. And so if you go into one of those places and you don't feel that magic, you're like, huh. So
It's
that's
a red flag. It's
yeah.
a real red flag.
Yeah, so it's hard to get to that point. So that's what I do, and kind of the magic of what I do.
Well, we do need to wrap this up.
Yeah.
I'm like sitting
That
here.
went fast. Come
So
on.
fast. I know. So many themes here that I feel like I would love to like break it down and be like, so basically, here's what you, and I think you said it really well, Dallas. Like, there is no one major thing, but I do love that picture of creating an environment that a plant could grow in, and that for each different plant is going to look different. Depending on where you are in the world is going to look different. Depending on you and your personality is going to look different. But I would encourage everybody that listen, first of all, everybody here at the table, thank you so much. So many great points and considerations. But think about two things. One, what is one thing, and Dallas and I were talking beforehand, like, you always have to be growing. You always have to be looking for, how can I do this better? Not so that I can get more money or get more notoriety, but so that I can serve the people I'm serving better. So I just encourage everybody, and myself included, but everybody listening at home, what's one thing in your business? What's one thing that you could do, a little tweak, a little bit of improvement, find somebody, find some accountability, get that in motion for yourself, for your business, for the people that you serve. And then if this content was helpful for you, if you enjoyed it, if you think of somebody that could benefit from it, share it with somebody. Data Money Mike, take us out.
Gary, plug the movies real quick.
Oh, okay. Movies in theaters, a Minecraft movie, The King of Kings, The Amateur, Drop, Warfare, and A Working Man.
There we go.
And by the way, Kris Jenner's new hairstyle has fans confusing her for her daughter, Kendall Jenner.
There we
Wow. So Kris Jenner must be keeping in pretty good shape.
Did you learn something today? I think you did, and that's called value. And because of that, you should like this video. Remember that sharing is caring. Be sure to check out Golden Rule Breaks links in the video description below. Be sure to comment and thank him. Dallas Lowe, amazing. Take it away, guys.
All right, we'll see you guys next week.